Hello everyone. So today we are going to see the unit 4, that is unit commitment. So if you see the syllabus of this unit, that is first there is a unit commitment. That means the statement of what is actually the unit commitment, what is the unit commitment problem, what are the constraints which are related to this unit commitment, that is spinning reserve, thermal unit constraints, hydro constraints, fuel constraints and other constraints. Whatever the constraints are there, we are going to see those. And next we are having the unit commitment problem solutions. There is a solution methods are there. So those solution methods also we are going to see in this fourth unit, that is priority list method, forward dynamic programming approach, and we are having some numerical problems on these methods, that is priority list method using full load average production cost and forward dynamic programming method. Forward DP method is nothing but forward dynamic programming method. So if you see the learning objectives of this lecture, so to understand about the unit commitment and to understand about the optimal unit commitment. What is actually the unit commitment and what is optimal unit commitment and what are the some constraints regarding this we will see in this lecture. So first if you see the unit commitment, so till now in the last class and in the previous sections we have seen about the unit 3, that is economic load dispatch. So how we are going to perform the economic load dispatch means we have given some number of generators. So out of that generators, how we are going to allocate the demand or the load on the power station between those generating units. In the given generating units, either it may be given 2 generating units or 3 generating units. In between that or among those 3 or 2 generating units, we are going to distribute the load or we are going to allocate the load depending upon the optimal conditions. That means by considering the economic operation of the power generating unit, according to that generating unit, which generator is going to be generates a less cost, we are going to load that generator maximum. So like that we are going to distribute the load among the different generators which has given. But here that is not the case of economic load dispatching. He has given the number of generators, either it may be 2 or 3 generators. So depends upon that 2 or 3 generators we are going to allocate the load, whatever the load is there on that particular generators, 3 or 2 generators we are going to distribute that load. But if you consider a power station that may not contain only 3, that may contains, or let us consider the single power generating station will consider, let us consider that there are 10 number of units are there. So out of that 10 number of units, how you are going to distribute the load to commit the combination of units. Let us consider there is a 400 megawatts of load is there on a particular generating station. So you are having the each generating unit is having the 500 megawatts capacity. So there are 10 generating units are there like that. So each unit or a single unit can take care of that load, or the combination of 2 units can take care of that load, or combination of 3 units can take care of that load of 400 megawatts. Okay, there are 400 megawatts of load is there and there are 500 megawatts of generating capacity generators of 10 number is there. So out of that 10 we can take only one generator to meet that load, or we can take the combination of 2 generators, or we can take combination of 3 generators. So that here how many generators we are taking care, or how many generators we are considering, that is how many generators we are selecting out of the 10 generators to meet that particular demand. That is what here it is unit commitment problem. So here just if I see the definition, that is selection of combination of units to be committed to fulfill a particular demand. The selection of combination of units to be committed to fulfill a particular demand. So after selection of combination of units, so we have let us consider we have selected 1 and 3 generators or 1 and 3 generating units. So to meet that 400 megawatts of load. So after selecting that 1 and 3, among that 1 and 3 we are going to distribute the load by using economic load dispatch. That is what we have already seen in the third unit. So, by using these 3, that is 1 and 3 units, among that 1 and 3 units we are going to distribute the load by using economic load dispatch by considering the minimum cost of generation. Which generator unit is having the minimum cost of generation, for that generator unit we are going to load maximum. So, by considering that economic load dispatch we are going to distribute the load among that 2 generating units. But here unit commitment is nothing but the selection of combination of units to be committed to fulfill a particular demand. What is actually the optimal unit commitment? So, general we have seen that unit commitment is a selection of combination of units, but what is actually the optimal unit commitment? So, here the optimal unit commitment is nothing but the optimal selection of the combination of units, the optimal selection of combination of units to be committed to fulfill a particular demand. The optimal selection of combination of units to be committed to fulfill a particular demand on the station. The optimal selection of combination of units is nothing but, so which generator unit, before selection of the units, which generator units is going to be generates for less cost, we are going to select that units. Before load dispatch only we are going to select, that is what the optimal unit commitment. So, once the optimal selection of units are completed, we are going to load or loading the each unit optimally again. Again we are going to provide the load for the different generators which we have already selected by using optimal selection. We are going to load that generators by using again optimal condition only. By considering the economic considerations we are going to load that generators. That is what the optimal unit commitment. And if you see the advantage of this unit commitment methods, there are some unit commitment solution methods are there. So, here the first one is it is very flexible in nature. Second one is compared to the other methods, unit commitment requires less time for the calculations. It helps to minimize the cost of generation. That is a very most important. We are going to reduce the cost of the generation by considering the optimal solution, that means optimal unit commitment. And next fourth one is in dynamic programming of unit commitment method, the problem of varieties, that is we can use different number of sizes and different generating units we can provide here, that is in dynamic programming of unit commitment method, problem of variety of sizes can be solved easily. So, we are not only having the single generator unit, we are having many number of generating units, the sizes of different generator units are there. So, that means one generator is having the 200 megawatts, another generator unit is having 600 megawatts, one more generating unit is having 500 megawatts. There are different sizes, there are variety of sizes are there. So, these variety sizes of units can be solved by using dynamic programming easily. That is what the advantage of this unit commitment solution method. And there is a constraints regarding this unit commitment. So, in that constraints we are having the spinning reserve. What is actually the spinning reserve? The spinning reserve is defined as a total amount of generation available from all the units which are synchronized to the grid. Whatever the generating units are there in a particular generating station, how many generating units are connected to the grid, that is how much generation is there, that is available from all the units which are synchronized to the grid minus load demand minus losses being supplied. So, that means spinning reserve is a some amount of power we are going to keep aside in order to meet sudden changes in the powers, or if there is any generating station is going to be disconnected, or if there is any problem is there in any generating unit, we are going to disconnect that, and this spinning reserve is going to be utilized there in order to meet the demand on the power station. So, that is what the spinning reserve. It is defined as the total amount of the generation available from all the units which are synchronized to the grid. I am saying that which are synchronized to the grid. There are some units are there which are not synchronized to the grid. You should not consider those values of power generation. That means there are some ideal or there are some generators which are keep aside. So, in order to, if there is an increase in load, we are going to connect these to the grid. So, you should not consider these generators which are ideal. We are not, whatever the generators which are not connected to the grid, we should not consider over here. So, it is defined as the total amount of generation available from all units synchronized to the grid minus the load demand and the losses being supplied. This losses being supplied and load demand we have to subtract from the all the generation which is available and which are connected to the grid. So, that is what the spinning reserve. The spinning reserve is a very essential and in an interconnected system, because in an interconnected system we may have some load increase, or we may have some whatever the generator, any generator is going to be disconnected all of a sudden due to the overhauling or any problem. If there is any problem in any generator which are connected to the grid, then there is a under frequency problem. If the sudden decrease in the power, that will cause for the under frequency problem. So, if we are having the under frequency problem, means the grid may collapse. Due to this, the grid may collapse. So, in order to avoid that collapse of the grid, we are going to provide the spinning reserve. So, however, if sufficient spinning reserve is available in the system, the loss of one of the units can be taken care by the remaining units in the system. If we are having any unit is disconnected, the other units are going to be taken care. That means, the spinning reserve we are going to use here, that spinning reserve is going to be distributed among all the generators which are connected to the grid. So, that means, we are going to generate more than somewhat value of power more than the required one, as we are generating whatever the demand is there. So, according to that plus losses we are going to generate. So, if you are having the spinning reserve, means we are going to generate somewhat more than the load demand plus losses, and plus some spinning reserve we are going to taken place, right. So, that is what the spinning reserve. And if you see here thermal unit constraints, the other constraints is thermal unit constraints. So, it is to be noted that thermal plants requires operating persons to take care or to take into account the temperature and pressures of steam before a unit can be switched on or switched off. So, while switching on any unit, you can consider what is the temperature of that what is the temperature of that steam and what is the pressure of that steam. We need to consider that. So, we are having the boiler. So, inside that boiler, in the thermal power plant, inside that boiler, the pipes which are there. So, those through that pipes we are going to send the water that will generate the steam. So, if that is steam, whatever the temperature is there that for that steam, and also what is the pressure of that steam, we need to check each and every time before a unit can be switched on or unit switch off. That is what the thermal constraint. So, here if you see in that thermal unit constraints we are having the minimum uptime, and here the next one is minimum downtime. So, minimum uptime is nothing but what? If a unit is in operation for some time, it cannot be switched off instantly. It will take some amount of time before it could be switched off, because so the thermal power station, it is not a single unit. That means, it is continuously taken care of the remaining parts or equipments which are connected to the successive equipments which are connected to this for the generation of the power. So, here we are having the boiler and water to that boiler and coal to the boiler. So, these things are going to be continuously moving. That means, the supply of the coal is there and continuous flowing of the water is there, and there is a temperature is there. So, you are maintaining all these things. All of a sudden, if you switch off, the temperature in the boiler is going to be wasted off, and the water is going to be present in the tubes, that is going to be waste. So, in order to avoid this, there is a cost related to these equipments and these fuel. So, we need not to make these to waste. So, in order to avoid that, if a unit is in operation for some time, it cannot be switched off instantly. We have to first reduce the fuel input, and then we have to reduce the water to the boiler, and we have to reduce the temperature of that boiler, and then we have to switch off the unit. So, that is what for this decreasing the coal or fuel to the boiler and water to the boiler. So, this will take some amount of time. So, that time we are calling as minimum uptime. It takes some amount of time. So, before it could be switched off, this is known as minimum uptime. And here there is a minimum downtime. What is actually the minimum downtime? If a unit is decommitted, that is it is not in operation or not connected to the grid, it takes certain amount of time, 4 to 8 hours to recommit it. That means already it is disconnected. Then again if I want to connect it, it will take some amount of time, because the coal has to be burned and it needs to be convert as a temperature, and that needs to be convert as a steam by using the water. That will take some amount of time, as and whenever you are requiring the power, you should not switch on the generator. If you switch on the generator, it will not generate suddenly, but it will take some amount of time, because the back end equipment will need to works, and then when the steam strike the turbine, then only it will generate. That generation of the steam and coal or fuel to that boiler, it will take some amount of time. So, in order to recommit it, it will take some amount of time. So, that will known as minimum downtime. Here we are having the next is crew constraints. So, crew constraints are nothing but what? If a plant consists of 2 or more units, all the units cannot be turned on at a time, because we are only having the crew constraints are nothing but the operating persons who are there to switch on and off the equipments or generators. So, there are number of generators needs to be turned on. So, in order to turn on all the equipments, we are not having that much enough crew constraints to attend both the units at a time. So, if you are having 2 generating units, or if you are having more generating units, there are no such many crew constraints to attend all the equipments to in order to switch on. So, that means the crew constraints are most important here. We need to consider, and each generator should be turned on at a time. You should not turn on all the generators at a time, because we are not having enough crew constraints. Next, the thermal unit is never connected to the grid until the steam attains certain temperature and pressure for better efficiency of the plant. So, if you connect that, it will take lot of temperature to generate the power suddenly, and the efficiency of the plant is going to be decreases. And the next is startup cost. If you see the startup cost, what is actually the startup cost? The fuel input to the unit from cold to the state when it is connected to the grid. That is, the fuel input to the unit from cold to the state when it is, or when it can be connected to the grid. That means, so before switching on or before connecting to the grid, that means it is at switch off position. So, that from that switch off position to the state when we are going to connect to the grid. That means, after generating the steam, after that steam strike the turbine, after that turbine is going to be rotated, it will generate the electricity. That is what the state at we can ready to connect to the grid. So, from the cold state means after switching off that, from that position to the we are able to connect to the grid. So, in between that there is a fuel input is there, that fuel input cost to take from 0 state to the state when we are going to connect to the grid. So, in between that it will take some amount of fuel, it will take some amount of water. That cost of that fuel is called as startup cost. It is very much required. So, that cost is nothing but the startup cost we are calling. Next, if we see cold startup cost, if the unit were initially in cold condition, the startup cost is maximum. This type of cost or startup cost is known as cold startup cost. That means initially cold means we have turned off that unit for a long time, and after some time we are going to all of sudden switching on that unit. That means it will take large amount of time, and also it will take high cost, because the coal and fuel input to that needs high. Next, if you see the equation for this cold startup cost, that is Fc into 1 minus e to the power of minus t by alpha into F into Ft. Next, banking startup cost. So, if we see banking startup cost is nothing but if the units were turned off recently. If there are some units are turned off recently, means it is already the boiler and the water is already present and the boiler temperature somehow it is there, but it is low temperature. So, from that temperature we can increase the temperature suddenly and we can connect that to the grid, but that will takes less cost compared to the cold startup cost. This type of cost for the generation of the power is known as the banking startup cost. The equation if you see for that banking startup cost, that is Ft into T into F into Ff. So, what is this Ft, Fc we can see here. Fc is nothing but cold startup cost, F is the fuel cost, Ff is nothing but fixed cost, alpha is nothing but the thermal time constant of unit, T is nothing but time in hours, that is the unit where the unit was closed. How much time it is going to be closed, that time, that is T. Ft is nothing but the cost of maintaining unit at operating temperature and pressure. So, if you see the summary of this lecture, the optimal unit commitment is most important to reduce the cost. Once the optimal selection of units is completed, then each unit is loading optimally. And we have seen the spinning reserve. That spinning reserve is very essential in an interconnected system. Without spinning reserve, as loss of any unit, a large unit in the system may result in under frequency problem. So, if we are having the spinning reserve, we can overcome this under frequency problem. And the last one is the thermal unit is never connected to the grid until the steam attains certain temperature and pressure for better efficiency of the plant, right. So, with this we can conclude this lecture. Thank you for listening this class.